welcome everyone. My name is Cheryl. For those that are new, I've been teaching for about 20 years now, and I just absolutely love that we can gather from the east to the west and have everyone here together to practice Tai Chi. So at the beginning of every class, we're going to start with a salute. We're going to make a fist with our right hand, roll all your fingers in nice and tight, and then tuck the thumb over the first two. Your goal is to make a nice flat surface. A true martial arts or Tai Chi fist. When we do this, we want to make sure that our fist eye and what we call the tail are closed, so we don't have like a gap in our fist. But when we hold it tight, we're not doing like this scrunched up fist. We're making a nice flat surface. This is going to come into play in our Tai Chi practice later on. We're going to bring all the fingers together on the left hand. We're going to bring those two together and show a salute as a sign of honor to each other before we start our class. Thank you so much for being here. So this is going to be all about the Yang 13 form. We are going to focus in on the basics. First, we're going to talk about how we transfer our weight, how we balance, talk about some hand shapes, and then we're going to get right into what we call is prepare and the opening or beginning of our form, which is the first movement out of the 13. So we start with warm-ups in every class. We're going to do a Qigong exercise that directly relates to our opening of the form, and then we're going to get into some what we call as Tai Chi walking or just slow down walking today, because we're not going to be doing what we call a bow stance, but just checking in with our weight transfer, so then when we get to our next session that we feel a lot more comfortable. So let's start. The first thing we do in every class is we look down at our feet and we make sure that they're perfectly straight. So shoulders width apart or about hips distance. Remember, the outside edge of your shoulders should match the outside edge of your shoe. This is really important for our alignment in our body. Now we want to move forward and back or side to side and feel the weight in your footwork. So this is just bringing our awareness down to the feet where our balance and stability starts. Next, check in on your knees. I'm going to turn so that you can see a couple of things. Stay where you are. We don't want the knees locked out. We don't want them too bendy. It's like you lock them and then you gently just go past that to unlock them, okay? The next thing is our lower back. So you might place one hand on your belly and one on your lower back and tuck your tailbone down. So we're not going to stand like this. We want to think, can we level out our hips? We're not going to go too far, but just enough that we're finding some length through the lower back and we're engaging our abs a little bit. This is how we actually want to stand naturally. So throughout your day, I want you to check in on yourself. How does your lower body feel? And then see if you can lift through the crown of your head and let your shoulders hang down. This is almost what we call prepare, or the opening of our form is like our preparation. The only difference is we start with our fingertips to the side. Right now we're going to swing our arms and we're going to turn from our torso. We're just going to get some energy moving. Take some deep breaths here. As we practice, we want to have a smooth, even, and continuous breath. So that means we're breathing all the way down to the belly. Now as we turn from our torso, we can let our head follow the torso's direction. We're going to try and keep our hips straight or facing forward so that we're turning from the middle of our body or that lower back area. Notice if you speed up through your torso turn that your arms move a little bit faster. And you can strike the back or the belly, whatever feels best. Do a couple more rounds, just playing around with the speed of your waist. And then we're going to slowly ease off. So that means we slow down our torso turn. And we don't go quite as far until we eventually make our way back to that forward position. Okay, we're going to move through some of our joints to get warmed up. Shoulders or neck, so we're going to do some nice circles. Go forward, up, back, and down. Think about squeezing your shoulder blades together. Now you could do an alternate version where you do one and then the other. You could do large arm circles. Just do what feels good. Opening up your own body. So maybe you switch between them and you keep changing. Maybe you want to make some larger arm circles with those shoulder rotations. We'll do a couple more rounds going back, and then we're going to go forwards. So that means we're going to stop and we're going to go back, up, forward, and down. This time we're thinking about pulling the shoulder blades apart. So we really want to find the rotation, and same options apply. You can do alternating, one and then the other. You could do those large arm circles. Just find what feels best. Do a couple more rounds in whatever way your body needs. Check in on your breathing. How's your lower back? Let's go the other way a couple of times, going back. Squeeze those shoulder blades together or make those large arm circles. And then we're going to shake them out. So drop them down, bring your shoulders up to your ears and throw them down. And you can do it slowly or you can do it a couple of times. Just a gentle shake, letting our shoulders find that neutral position. Okay, we're going to go into the hips next. So you can have your hands on your hips, your arms free swinging. You could take a little bit of a wider stance if that feels good. And we're just going to push those hips in a large circle all the way around. Check in on your breath. Remember that our breath is our key to our whole practice. A few minutes of focusing on our breath every day will really make a difference in how we feel. Okay, let's go the other direction. You can go as fast or as slow as you want. Noticing that weight transfer in your feet. Okay, let's come back to center. Even it out. We're going to bring our feet together, knees and ankles together, and we're going to bend down a little bit. Bring your hands to your knees. Make sure your heart is still lifted so we have length through the spine, and then small little circles. You can look down towards the ground, relaxing the neck. We're just going to circle the knees a little bit. Tiny little circles of the ankles, warming up every joint in our body. Okay, great work. Let's go the other way. So our last little bit of warm up. Might be feeling the energy already start flowing. Okay, let's come up, shake out the legs. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit of a Qigong exercise. Before we do that, I want to talk about our hand shape. Our hand shape plays a huge role in our practice. So remember, in Tai Chi, it's all about opening up every joint in our body to get the blood and energy flowing freely. It increases circulation, it increases energy, it'll actually increase the warmth in your body. So we want to make sure it goes all the way out to our hands and fingers. So if you hold up your hands, take a moment, look at your palms. What did you naturally do? Okay, we want to see if we can get little gaps between our fingers, and can we open up this part of our palm? We call this the tiger's mouth. Can we open this up? So instead of having your thumb closed, can you open up through this area? Now, what are your fingers actually doing? Are they crumbly? Are you holding tension? Or do you have this kind of in between? Now, it's like just enough, but then a little bit more. So can you energize through your palm? Can you see the difference of like bringing that little bit of energy so that we're kind of bringing it all the way out through the tips of our fingers? Now, if we had both palms in this shape, could you imagine that you're holding a ball? So we have this rounded shape through the palm like we're holding a giant beach ball. Now this palm shape is going to be the same no matter what we do. So even in the beginning when we're doing that turning, when our hands are at our sides, when the hands are out in front, or even when they're overhead, it's going to be the same palm shape. We want to make sure that we have this beautiful opening through all of our fingers. Now, your hands might not be used to this. They might be doing all kinds of weird things. That's perfectly normal. It's the intention of having every joint open that's going to help heal our bodies, okay? So let's set back up into that prepare position. We're going to do like water's wave, which is also the opening and closing of our form, or the first and last movement of every Tai Chi form, including this 13 movement form. So feet shoulders width apart, perfectly straight. Knees in line. Remember, they're not turned in. Knees in line. Lift up through all of your joints, through the crown of your head. Tuck your tailbone down. Bring your arms to the side. So the fingertips are actually going to brush the sides of your thighs. See how they line up? Okay, now we want to make sure we have a little piece of fruit under our arms. This is so energy goes from the ground through the legs, waist, and spine out through the fingers and doesn't get stuck in the arms. Okay, from here, we're going to rotate our palms facing back as we lift up. And then we're going to bring the arms up to shoulder height and shoulder width apart. Now we're going to let the upper arms go down first, the forearms, and then the palms until they sit in front of your hips. So when they're sitting in front of your hips, slight bend in your elbow. Make it like you're sitting that hand on a table, okay? Now, move through your upper arms, your forearms, out to your fingers, and then we float down. So we're trying to find a wave of movement. We're going to inhale and we're going to lift up. Exhale, upper arms, forearms, and palms sink down. Staying where you are. I'm just going to keep turning so you can see we're going to come up on our inhales. And then we're going to sink down to whatever position is comfortable on the exhale. Hands come to the hips. Then we push out of the legs. We stand up nice and tall. And then we do upper arms, forearms, and palms. Now, if we had a group of people in a room practicing together, every single person would move at a different rate, and every person would sink to a different level. So it's completely up to you. Follow your own breath. Inhaling, we come up. Exhale, we sink down. Are your knees in line with your toes as you sink? And then do you feel that your tailbone is still relaxing down? So try to feel a wave like you're rising up and then slowly floating or sinking down. Completely up to you how fast or slow you move. But I want you to take a few breaths. Connect your mind to what your body is doing. Big inhales through the nose. Exhale through the nose or the mouth. Find your own flow. See if you can feel stable and strong through your legs, and then light and airy through the arms. Already finding this yin and yang feeling, rising up and sinking down, calming the mind, taking a moment, becoming here and now, present with what our breath is doing and how our body is moving. Let's do a few more. You might start feeling the legs. I don't want you to feel any tension in the shoulders. So remember, only shoulder height. And then just float back down. Let's do 2 more. You can always stop with me or after. Okay, the last one we sink down, and then we just stand up and we return to that original position. Our arms come to the sides. So we return to that prepare position. Okay, shake out the arms, move the legs if you have to, okay? Shake everything out. Don't ever let yourself hold any tension at any point. Feel free to move in whatever way feels good, okay? Now we're going to talk about the legs since we've really warmed them up, okay? So much of our Tai Chi practice comes from how we move from the lower body. Our whole foundation comes from our legs. The arms can make all kinds of circles. The arms can do all kinds of things, pushing out. We can go overhead. We can do all these different things, but we're going to have 3 types of stances that we're going to move through, and it all starts from how we transfer our weight. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. So moving back to that parallel stance, I want you to shift your weight to one side and then shift back. And just move in your own way. So you could move really slowly or you could move a little bit faster. What are you noticing? What happens when you shift all the weight over to one leg? Do you notice that your heel will naturally lift up on the other leg? So if you shift to the left, that right heel lifts up. So can you lift it up a little bit more so that almost 100% of the weight is in that right leg, and then we shift it over to the left? And we're just feeling, okay, what is this like? Can I move all that weight over to one side and then the other? So Tai Chi is like slowed down walking. We move in the same way, and it starts by how we transfer from one side to the other, okay? Now, how do we experience this right away? Let's move back in your space. We're going to walk forward just as you walk normally. But what I want you to do is slow it down. So we're going to shift as we did, and then we're going to step forward. Now I want you to just take a few steps first. I want you to notice, what do your feet naturally do? Now see if you can walk back. See if you can take a couple of steps going back. Okay, the first thing I want you to notice is, are you walking on 2 lines? Okay, the most optimum position for our body and our alignment is to keep this spacing as we walk. So we don't want to walk and cross our feet or walk really wide. We don't want to have our feet turned out to the side or turned in, okay? When we move forward, can you keep these 2 lines? You're walking heel, ball, toe, just naturally as you would, but can you keep those feet nice and straight? So you might have to look down. Then when you move back, same thing. What happens? What do you touch with as you move back? You touch with your toes first, right? And so we're reversing it as we move back. Okay? See if you can slow it down. Heel, ball, toe. Weight transfers. Heel, ball, toe. Weight transfer slowly, okay? You can hold your arms up for balance, okay? You could hold them, we call a hug a tree position, or just relax them down, okay? Now when you go back, toe, ball, heel. Move back, toe, ball, heel. Nice and slow, okay? I want you to notice, how does this feel? This basic walking, how do you feel? Now I'm going to go a different direction because I want you to see a couple of things. You can keep going forward. When you walk, we have a natural stance, a natural reach. I don't want you to go past that reach, okay? Same thing when we go back. We're not like going to reach and then go back, okay? That's going to make our balance harder. We're just going to naturally walk. And then over time, as we do Tai Chi, you'll find that you sink lower and lower. And we're going to talk about that in our next session. But just notice, can you keep yourself completely upright? And how's your footwork? Maybe you have to stop and look. So when you get to the back position, how'd you do? Are your feet still shoulders width apart? Okay, these are things that we can do in everyday life. When you're in the grocery store, when you're walking around your home, can you slow it down and stop and see, are my feet straight? Do I have that shoulders width apart? Okay, this is really important. I want you to start noticing this in your daily life, because when we become more aware of this simple act of just walking with space between our feet, you're going to start noticing new muscles working. It's also about your foot direction. If you're walking with your feet out and your knees turned in, we're hurting our joints, okay? Same thing here. If the toes turn in, can you make your feet perfectly straight as you walk? And when you look at your shoes, it's going to tell you a lot about where you put the weight. Okay? So as we walk, can you keep that weight centered on your whole foot? So heel, ball, toes, but all of the toes. Okay? When you push off, are you pushing from the big toe and the little toe side? Now, when you step back, are you touching with just your big toe, or are you touching with all your toes and then grounding and rooting? Same thing, touching with the whole foot. Okay, this is the key to our Tai Chi practice. This is how we're going to transfer into what we call as a bow stance and have great alignment. So a few minutes a day of just slowing down your walking is going to help a lot in how you feel, okay? So let's go side to side now. So we're going to start in what we call a parallel stance, or that neutral position where we have shoulders width apart. We're going to imagine we're on a plank, okay? You're walking a plank this way now. We're going to sink down. Notice how if you sink, it's a little bit easier to shift and lift that heel. You can really bring that weight over, versus when you're up here, you still bend your knee a little bit. You can't lock it out and get 100% of the weight there, but if we sink down a little bit, can you feel that weight transfer? Okay, now we're going to go side to side. This is going to help with our first movement in the form. So we're going to shift to our right leg, and you're going to step just as wide as is comfortable. You have three options. You can touch with your toes again, ball heel. You could roll the edge of your shoe, or you could touch with your whole foot. Okay? How can you make your foot straight? And then you're going to shift and you're going to step in. We're going to shift to the right and we're going to step out. Now I want you to note, are you going up and down like this? Or can you stay at your chosen level and move across from side to side? Okay, we're just shifting across, and then we can go back. So we can shift, and you can do this for as long as your space is, going one side and then the other. But I just want you to be aware, can you stay with your legs bent? Okay, so we're not going to change the bend in our knees. We're going to keep it the same so that we're shifting at this height. We might reach out, but we're staying low, okay? We're not going to do this, okay? See the difference? We're not going up and down. We're just going from side to side, okay? And then we can go back. So we'd have to shift back this way, and we step in, and we just keep moving back and forth from side to side, and we notice weight transfer, heel lifts, toes touch, we shift, heel lifts, we touch with the toes, and then we shift. And we're just moving back and forth just as we were when we were standing there, but now we're stepping out to that double wide stance is what we call it. So we'll say shoulders width, and then double wide. Do we need to focus on what double shoulder width is? No, just reach to what point is comfortable. Don't expand past that point, okay? Let's come back. Last one. Okay, shake out the legs. We're going to stretch out those legs in the beginning, or at the end, I mean. Woo, ready? Release. Shake everything down. Release the arms, release the legs, okay? Now, let's talk about the beginning of our form. We've actually already done all of the movements for prepare and beginning or opening of the form, okay? When we're practicing the form, I'm going to do my best to mirror you while we learn a new movement, but then I'm actually going to turn and face the other way when we practice, especially when we learn a sequence of movements. So we're going to have single movement practice where we're going to repeat a movement again and again, which we're going to do right now, and then we're going to have our movement or practice continuously without interruption, okay? So this means we are going to link sequences together so that we have a string of movements, and this comes later on, of course. So feet, shoulders width apart. Let's get into prepare. So checklist, knees in line, right? They're not turned in. Waist relaxed. Fingertips brush the sides. Shoulders down. Head lifting up. These are all things that we're going to talk about in the 10 essentials. These are things that guide our practice, but they help with our body shape. One of the other ones, we don't want to lift our chest, okay? Just like our tailbones relax, we want the chest to sink in a little bit, not over rounded, okay? But just enough so that the ribs are in their natural position and we can breathe freely through the belly. So fingertips are on the side, little piece of fruit under your arms. This is what we call prepare. Then we have opening. Opening is like water's wave, but only one time. So we start by rotating those arms. Kind of starts at the top and then it goes all the way to the fingers as you start lifting up. Then we inhale, those arms come up, shoulder height, shoulder width. Then we do upper arms, forearms, and palms sink down until the hands are in front of your hips with that little piece of fruit under your arms. Prepare and opening. Opening is the first move. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see. Do it again. Reset. Prepare. Arms to the side. We're going to rotate. They start lifting up. Then we come all the way up. Shoulder height, shoulder width. Upper arms, forearms, palms, sink down. Head is nice and neutral. We're looking ahead. Let's do it again. Notice how your speed is. So try to follow your breath. Try to slow the breath down. Inhale. Exhale, lower down. So this movement sets the pace for the whole form, okay? It literally is telling you what, or you're telling the form what speed you're going to practice. So we want to slow it down as much as possible. We want to use this time to calm our mind, settle our mind, and be here now so that we're present with our movement. Let's do it one more time. Arms to the side, fingertips brush the thighs. We come inhale up. Exhale down. Okay. Now, when we practice, I'm going to turn and face the other direction. So I'm going to do that right now so we can practice just so you kind of get familiar with what it's going to feel like. So we're going to start and I'm going to say prepare. And we're going to run through that checklist. Feet, shoulders width, knees in line, waist relaxed, shoulders down, head lifting up, fingertips brush the sides. Then opening. Rotate the arms. Inhale up, shoulder height, shoulder width. Exhale, upper arms, forearms, and then the palms come down and sit in front of your hips. So you notice right away you can't see as much of what's going on, and this is why I'm going to turn and face the other way as much as possible. But let's do it one more time. From prepare, just bringing those arms back to the side. Rotate and lift as you inhale. Exhale, come down. Okay. Look down at your palms. Hips distance, sitting right in front, fingertips pointing forward. How do your palms feel? Do we have that great palm shape that we talked about in the beginning? Yes? Okay. You might start feeling energy moving through the palms. This is a great thing. So remember, as we start in our prepare position right away, we have that connection to the ground. We want to feel heavy through the legs. We want to feel flexible through the middle body when we have turning, we have up and down through the spine. But right now, heavy through the legs, light and airy through the arms with that energy running all the way out through the fingertips. Let's inhale, rotate, lift up. Do you feel the energy all the way out through your fingers? Exhale, pressing down. Awesome. Okay. So already today, you've learned prepare, you've learned opening. Okay. In the next session, we are going to get into that side to side footwork. Okay. We're going to learn our first arm circles. Okay. So we're going to be learning how we can use our shoulders and elbows to rotate our arms. This is going to play a big role. We're going to think, how can we control the arms with keeping these armpits open? And this goes for both sides, okay? We're going to talk about how we rotate our arms. Okay, this is going to be building on each session. So let's take a moment. Let's stretch out our legs. If you want to grab onto a piece of furniture or a chair or something, feel free. Shift your weight over first and foremost. Lift up that opposite heel. Look ahead of you. Lift up. Try to relax your foot and then grab your pant leg, your ankle, or your foot and bring that heel towards your hip and bring your knees together. You can also use a towel or a strap, but we did a lot of stance work today. Let's just take a moment. Bring those knees together. Bring that leg pointing down as much as possible so that we get a good stretch. Super important after we do so much that we take the time to stretch. Remember, your breath will affect your balance, so are you breathing right now? Super important to check in on that. Okay, let's release that leg. We're going to shift over. We're going to find that balance, and then we're going to pick up. We're going to bring those knees together. You're going to notice one side is always better than the other. You can hold that hand out, kind of imagine you're pushing off that table to help with your balance. Knees are together, pointing down, focusing on that breath. Couple more breaths. Getting a nice stretch here. And then release. Let's stretch out the back of the legs. So we're going to take 1 foot 45 degrees. You're going to hear this a lot in our Tai Chi practice. Bring your knee in line. Don't let it turn in. I want you to have it in line. Feel that weight centered right now, keeping that alignment going. Take your other heel out and then draw your toes towards your torso. Bring your hands to your supporting leg and you can fold forward a little bit if you'd like. Still keeping that lifting through the heart so that we have alignment in the spine. You might feel a stretch behind the legs and also through the lower back. Keep your head nice and relaxed down. One or two more breaths here, really getting a nice stretch through the calf and the hamstring. And then we'll release. We're going to switch sides. So again, check in on that alignment. Knee goes in line with the ankle. Step out. Draw those toes back. Remember, if you're wobbly because you're on one line, take it a little bit wider. Fold forward. Draw the toes back. Hands on that supporting back leg. gently looking down. And then release. Come up. Come back to our parallel or neutral stance. We're going to do some big inhales up. Reach all the way through the arms. Big stretch, fill the lungs, and then relax the shoulders and the arms and just bring them down, sitting in front of your hips, but this time fingers point together. And then let's inhale and lift up again. Big stretch through the spine. Relax the shoulders, the arms, until those hands come down in front. Okay, now we're just going to reach up and keep those shoulders down as we inhale. Exhale, bend at the elbows, and then press down. 2 more, lift up. And then just imagine settling, maybe pushing out energy that doesn't serve you. And then on the last one, we inhale, we gather all the good stuff in, and then we bring it through. Hands down to the hips, and then always returning to that neutral position. Okay, we close class just as we started. We bring the feet together, fist with your right hand, palm, all fingers together with the left, and we salute. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's session. All right, so the last 5 minutes of class are for your questions and comments. Everyone